Have you ever opened an email that changed your life forever in less than 10 seconds? Not a warning, not a conversation, just an ending. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. At 2:17 a.m., halfway across the world and running on barely 3 hours of sleep, Captain Maya Bennett, 34, did what she always did during deployment downtime. She checked her inbox between convoy scheduling reports and supply chain updates. One new message. From her husband, Daniel Bennett, 36. Subject line, "We need to talk." Except, there was no talk. No call. No explanation. No argument waiting to happen. Just a scanned legal document attached to the email. A divorce filing. Already signed. Already submitted. Already in motion. Imagine being stationed over 6,000 miles away from home, managing military logistics in an active overseas deployment zone, only to discover your marriage has just been ended with a PDF attachment. But that wasn't even the worst part. Seconds after reading Daniel's message, which simply said, "I've moved on. You've changed. I deserve to be happy," another notification came in. A banking alert. Their joint savings account had been accessed, then cleared. 8 years of combined income, emergency savings, investment rollovers. Even the college fund Maya had been helping build for her younger brother. Gone. $92,417.13 reduced to $0 overnight. No warning. No conversation. No consent. And if you think it stops there, it doesn't. Because 3 days later, while she was still trying to process how her life had just been dismantled between 2 military briefings, Maya received a message from her neighbor back home. It was a photo. Her living room. Same couch. Same wall art. Same hardwood floor she and Daniel had installed 5 years earlier. But standing in the middle of it, laughing, holding a wine glass, was a woman Maya had never seen before. Lila Grant. 26 years old. Daniel had already moved his new girlfriend into their house, while Maya was still deployed overseas. So, what would you do? Call him screaming? Contact a lawyer immediately? Threaten legal action from across the world? Maya did none of those things. Instead, she replied to the divorce email with one word. Understood. And, in that exact moment, Daniel thought he had won. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What kind of person ends an 8-year marriage? By email, while their spouse is deployed overseas. That was the question running through Maya's mind in the hours after she replied, understood. Because this wasn't supposed to be how their story ended. Maya Bennett had met Daniel when she was 26, and he was 28. Back then, he was working as a junior real estate agent, constantly talking about future investments, financial freedom, and building something stable. Maya, fresh into her military logistics career, had just begun thinking long-term herself. They weren't reckless. They planned everything. Budget spreadsheets. 5-year goals. Joint savings targets. When Daniel went through an 11-month stretch of unemployment 3 years into their marriage, Maya covered the mortgage without complaint. When Maya received her first overseas assignment, Daniel promised he would hold things down financially while she focused on her mission. And for years he did. He managed their mortgage payments, filed their taxes, handled their investment portfolio, even rebalanced their retirement contributions when interest rates shifted. Everything ran through Daniel. And Maya trusted him completely. Have you ever trusted someone so much that checking up on them felt like betrayal? Because Maya never questioned why Daniel insisted on being listed as the primary account manager on their joint financial platforms. After all, she had access to. Or at least, she thought she did. Now, staring at an empty account balance in the middle of an overseas operations tent, she began noticing things she had ignored for years. Why had Daniel recently asked her to digitally confirm routine banking updates right before deployment? Why had he suddenly been interested in consolidating their emergency fund? Why did the transfer history show 3 separate withdrawals made within 48 hours? All authorized using updated login credentials? Credentials Maya didn't recognize. That's when she tried logging into their shared investment dashboard. Access denied. Password incorrect. And suddenly, what looked like a clean break felt like something else entirely. Because Daniel hadn't just ended their marriage. He had locked her out of their entire financial life. But what Daniel didn't realize was that 6 months before deployment, Maya had quietly made one administrative update of her own. And when she logged into that system, she didn't call Daniel. She didn't panic. She called someone else. But what came next would change everything, and Daniel had no idea it was already in motion. Why would someone respond to betrayal with silence, instead of rage? Daniel was waiting for the explosion. The late-night calls. The angry voice messages. The desperate, emotional texts demanding explanations. But nothing came. No shouting. No legal threats. No emotional breakdown. Just one word. Understood. And that silence? It made him comfortable. It made him think Maya had accepted it. That maybe the distance had made her detached. Maybe the marriage had already been dying for years. Maybe she didn't want to fight. Meanwhile, nearly 6,000 miles away, Maya wasn't sleeping. She was on a secured satellite call with attorney Rachel Kim, 41. A legal specialist who handled cases involving deployed military personnel and domestic financial disputes. Because here's something Daniel clearly didn't know. Under federal protections like the Service Members Civil Relief Act, divorces involving actively deployed personnel can't just be rushed through without proper acknowledgement and legal safeguards. And Daniel hadn't waited. He hadn't confirmed Maya received the filing before submitting it. He hadn't ensured service compliance. Which meant the divorce process he thought was already underway might not even be valid. But Rachel found something else. 3 large transfers from the joint account. 2 domestic. One routed through a newly opened financial institution Maya had never seen before. All completed within 48 hours of Daniel requesting those routine banking confirmations before her deployment. And then came the bigger discovery. A mortgage refinance application submitted in Daniel's name only. On a home that still legally included Maya as co-owner. So what happens when someone empties joint marital funds during an active deployment and attempts to refinance shared property without the other owner's consent? Rachel's advice shocked Maya. Do nothing. For now. Let him move. Let him file. Let him apply. Because every action Daniel took without Maya's acknowledgement wasn't just a mistake. It was evidence. And just when Daniel thought the silence meant peace, he made one more move that would hand Maya everything she needed. But what came next would change everything, and there was no way to undo it. Have you ever watched someone celebrate too early? Because that's exactly what Daniel was doing. A week passed after Maya's one-word reply. Then 2. Still no calls. No objections. No legal pushback. From Daniel's perspective, the silence meant consent. He assumed Maya had accepted the divorce. Accepted the money was gone. Accepted that Lila was now living in the home they bought together 5 years earlier. So he moved forward. First, he applied for a home equity loan using the property as collateral. Then he submitted an amended tax filing listing himself as the sole financial resident of the household. And finally, he requested a title update through a local property processing service, attempting to present himself as the primary financial occupant moving forward. Each form, each digital signature, each submission time-stamped and legally recorded, all completed while Maya was still actively deployed overseas. Do you see where this is going? Because Maya and Rachel did. They didn't interrupt him. Didn't contest anything yet. They just watched. And documented. Daniel even used part of the withdrawn funds to renovate the kitchen. New countertops. Updated cabinets. Modern lighting fixtures. He posted photos online with captions like, "Fresh start" and "New chapter begins." But behind the scenes, Maya and Rachel were building something far more important than a social media narrative. They were compiling transaction histories, transfer authorizations, refinance disclosures, loan application records, tax amendments, all completed without Maya's consent, all during active duty deployment. So what do you think a judge sees when someone financially strips their deployed spouse, then attempts to restructure shared property ownership in their absence. By the time Daniel received the official court notice, it wasn't about divorce anymore. It was about financial misconduct. And the next document he opened would make one thing painfully clear. He hadn't secured the house. He had put it at risk. But what came next would change everything, and this time, Daniel couldn't stop it. What do you do when the person you thought you outsmarted stops playing along? Because the notice Daniel received wasn't a divorce update. It was a court filing. Filed on Maya's behalf. While he had been renovating kitchens and posting about fresh starts, Maya and Rachel had submitted 3 separate legal actions under protections available to actively deployed service members. A financial injunction, a misconduct review request, and a property freeze motion. Suddenly, everything Daniel had touched over the past 3 weeks was under scrutiny. The refinance application? Suspended. The home equity loan? Denied. The attempted title update? Flagged for review. Even the joint funds he had transferred into the new account were now subject to restitution evaluation pending investigation. Because here's what Daniel never expected. Actions taken against a deployed spouse without proper acknowledgement aren't just messy divorce tactics. In some cases, they're considered financial misconduct. And when those actions involve shared marital assets withdrawn during active duty, the legal consequences escalate fast. Daniel couldn't sell the house, couldn't borrow against it, couldn't legally restructure ownership without reopening the very case he thought he had already closed. And now, he faced the possibility of asset reversal, legal penalties, and a formal inquiry into how those funds were accessed in the first place. All triggered because Maya replied with one word. Understood. Remember that 2:17 a.m. email? Daniel thought that was the end of their marriage. But in reality, it was the beginning of a legal process he had unknowingly sabotaged himself. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It isn't emotional. Sometimes it's patient, strategic, documented. So if someone betrayed you like that, would you react immediately? Or would you wait until it was already too late for them to fix what they've done? If this story made you rethink trust, money, or what silence can really mean, make sure you like this video, subscribe for more real-life exposés, and tell me in the comments, was Maya too patient? Or exactly right? But the truth is, Daniel didn't understand what understood really meant until everything he thought he had secured started slipping away.